Howdy, statisticians. So we're going to go back and fill in those notes that you were all crazy because we weren't filling in before. And we've been talking about means, so now we're going to go back and talk about proportions. So if you remember, for proportions, when we were doing confidence intervals, we were using Z in our confidence interval calculations. We were using Z star. It was part of our margin of error. So the distribution we're going to use for population proportions is a Z distribution. And of course, in order to use that, we do have to know that it is, in fact, normal. And of course, we have our way to test it, which we're going to put down here in the third box. Or no, actually right now. So the conditions, still the same conditions that we're checking, which is SRS, and you need to talk about it. And then independence, still the same assumption that the population is greater than 10 times the sample size. We're not oversampling our And then the N still stands for normality, but remember you had a different way to test for normality for proportions, and that was using your two formulas relating N and P and whether or not the product was greater than or equal to 10. And then, for the test statistic, remember that this again is on your formula sheet, but it is generic. So the test statistic equals the sample. In this case, our sample is going to be p hat minus the population parameter, which will be p over the standard deviation for the sample. But the standard deviation for the sample is p times 1 minus p over n. Remember, all of that is underneath the square root. And now, as if you don't have enough p's to worry about, when you're doing a test, of course, this first p is the population parameter. That's going to be the claim. I put a little not symbol on it to tell me that that came from the null hypothesis. And then inside the standard deviation, I'm also using the null p. So I say that when you're testing, you use the POPO. And when we do intervals, intervals are hat parties in that they use p hat. So now, another thing that you need to know is, as you check your, actually I'm going to scroll back up here, because in addition, when I am doing tests, not confidence intervals, but tests, I'm going to use the p hat, not p hat, the POPO in the normality check as well. So I'm using POPO in my Z calculation, and I'm using the POPO in the normality check.